Hello students, my name is Yash Baheti. I am a BTech graduate from IIT Roorkee. I have been associated with askIITians for past 4 years as a mathematics faculty. We are here to discuss circles, as you can understand that it is the most important part of the conic section, and circles is also the biggest chapter. In circles, we are going to start with the introduction, the very basic definition and its equations. Then the important questions of circles comes on the director circles or the radical axes or the locus of finding out different points. Circles will also help you in the conic sections and in the straight lines chapter while using the combined concepts to find out the answers for different questions. So let's start.
Circles. First of all, the basic definition. What is a circle? Let's suppose there is a point P which is defined by h, k, and it is moving in our coordinate plane. It is moving here and there in our coordinate plane. Let's say there is another point which is fixed. It is fixed at a place and its coordinate are a, b. Now we come to the definition. Circle is defined as locus of point P. What do we mean by locus? Locus is the set of all those points that satisfy a given condition. So locus of all those point P which moves in the plane such that its distance from this fixed point, this is the fixed point, so its distance from this fixed point is constant. That means the P point is moving here and there in this coordinate plane. There are various points that will satisfy this condition. If you look at all those points collectively, that is the locus, you will find a circle. So again, a circle is nothing but a locus of point which is moving such that its distance from a fixed point a, b is constant. But this was a figurative, or this was a definition. How can we express it in mathematical language? So as I've said that its distance is constant, so first of all let's apply the distance formula. So what I'm going to write that h minus a square plus y minus b plus k minus b square is equals to r. If you square this equation, you will get h minus a square plus k minus b square is equals to r square. Now what I have done here is that I have replaced h with x and I have replaced y with k with y. So that becomes x minus a square plus y minus b square is equals to r square. This is one of the general equation of circle. It is again a very basic definition. You can clearly see that a, b is the fixed point and r is your fixed distance. So what we have done is that we have given a name to this fixed point and this fixed distance. Let's call that the fixed point is center. That means your a, b, which is here and here, this fixed point is center, and your fixed distance is radius of circle. That means this fixed distance r. This is radius of circle. So again, the most important parameters in equation of a circle, or in circle you can say in general, is one is the radius and other is the center. Let's move. If your center coordinates becomes 0, 0, that means if your center has shifted itself to origin, then your equation of circle will become x square plus y square is equals to r square. Nothing has happened. We have placed 0, 0 in place of a, b because our center is now origin. But let's again recall the previous definition, the equation number 1. If I expand the equation number 1, I'll get this x square plus y square minus 2x minus 2by a square plus b square minus r square is equals to 0. I have done nothing. I have just opened the brackets. So when you open the brackets, there are some common terms which I can collect. So let me collect these terms and let me introduce a new equation. The new equation says that let x square be x square, y square be y square. So I have called 2gx and 2fy, these x and y terms, and to this constant term I have represented it as c. That means c is the collective constant term. This is the most general definition or the most general equation of a circle. You can take any equation of the circle and you can represent it in this form or either the first form. Now What I am going to do is that I am going to collect the common terms or the same variable term, and I am trying to make whole square. So x square 2gx, I can make a whole square out of this by adding a g square. Similarly, y square and 2fy, I can make a whole square by adding an f square. And if I have added something, then I have to subtract something, and I have sent all those terms on the other side, and I have represented like this. If you see this equation and if you compare this equation with your equation number 1, you will find that the center coordinates are minus g comma minus f, and the radius is g square plus f square minus c. So that is, if you compare it with our general equation, then what you are going to find out is that half of negative of coefficient of x and half of negative of coefficient of y is your center. So remember that any second degree equation, if you find, if the coefficient of x square and coefficient of y square are equal, and if there is no xy term, then that equation represents a circle. So this is just a trick to identify that whether an equation represents a circle or not. Now we'll come to nature of circle. Nature of circle depends upon the radius. So again, this is our beloved general equation, and we have our radius as g square plus f square minus c. First of all, let's consider that what happens if g square plus f square minus c becomes negative, or this is less than 0. That means there is negative term inside root, which is not allowed, or our distance has gone imaginary, it has become imaginary. There is no real distance. That means the circle also cannot exist, or it's an imaginary circle. Similarly, if we move to the second condition, when the g square plus f square minus c is 0, that means there is no distance. Your r is 0. If there is no distance, that means the only point that is going to satisfy the condition is that point itself, because the distance between 2 points has to be 0. So both the points have to overlap. That means a point circle. Similarly, if g square plus f square minus c is greater than 0, that means we have some real distance, or our r is a non-zero or non-negative quantity. That means we have a real circle with finite radius. So always remember that if you want to find out an equation of circle, then always chase for center and radius, because if you have center, if you have radius, then you can find out the equation of circle. Now we'll come to the next concept, that is intercept on x-axis. What do we mean by intercept? As we all know that intercept is a length that has been cut out, or a portion of a length. So suppose that we have a general equation again, and we have our coordinate x-axis. What our circle is doing is that our circle is cutting x-axis and y-axis to 2 points. Distance between those 2 points is called intercept. Let's see it graphically. Suppose that this is the circle that I have. This point A is the first point on which my circle cuts the x-axis. This is the second point. I am saying that distance between point A and B, or the length AB, is the intercept on x-axis, because this has been cut on x-axis. Now, what is the unique feature about this intercept on x-axis? It is that when it cuts the x-axis, the y-coordinate of point A and B is 0. So if I put the y-coordinate 0 in equation, then I'll get x square plus 2gx plus c equals to 0. This is a quadratic equation. Let's suppose that we have roots as x1 and x2. So sum of roots will be minus 2g and product of the roots will be c. But we are interested in finding out the distance AB. Distance AB is nothing but x2 minus x1 or x1 minus x2. There is a mod, so it doesn't differ. So this is given by 2 root of g square minus c. You can very easily calculate this by using the concept of quadratic equations, that is the difference of the roots. So the intercept on x-axis is 2 root g square minus c. I can do similar thing with y-axis as well. Suppose my circle cuts the y-axis at 2 points. This is my point A and this is my point B. Again, what is the unique feature of these new points A and B? That they are on y-axis, that means their x coordinate is 0. their x coordinate is 0. So if you put x equal to 0 in the equation, you will get a quadratic in y. Again, we want to find out the difference between the roots. That will come as 2 root f square minus c. So 2 root g square minus c is on x-axis and 2 root f square minus c is the intercept on y-axis. Intercept, that means the length cut out by circle. Let's solve a question. Let's see that how well we have studied. So suppose that we have this equation. We need to find out the center and radius of the circle. So we know that center and radius can be found out, which is center is minus g comma minus f and radius is root of g square plus f square minus c. But there is one catch. I don't see this equation in correct form and there is some third variable lambda as well. So let's see what we can do. First of all, I know that if this equation represents a circle, then coefficient of x square has to be equal to coefficient of y square. This is my first check. So it is equal, as I can see that coefficient of x square is 3 and coefficient of y square is 3. Now I'll move to the second condition. That means the coefficient of xy term has to be 0. But here it is lambda. That means if this equation represents a circle, then the value of lambda is 0. So lambda is 0. That means my equation is now modified to 3x square plus 3y square minus 3x minus 6 plus 6y minus 6 is equals to 0. Let's bring it to the standard form. That means if I bring it to the standard form, that means x square plus y square minus x plus 2y minus 2 is equals to 0. I have done nothing. I have just divided the equation by 3. Now if I compare it with my standard equation, then negative half of coefficient of x, that means minus of minus 1 by 2 is my x coordinate of center and negative half of coefficient of y is my y coordinate of center. Okay, this is 3. So that means 3 by 2 is my y coordinate of center. My center coordinates are minus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 because minus becomes plus, comma minus 3 by 2. These are my coordinates of center. I have got the first answer. Now if this is actually nothing but minus g, this is actually nothing but minus f. So radius will be g square, that is 1 by 4 plus f square, that is 9 by 4 minus c, that means minus of minus 2 is plus 2 root. So this becomes 10 and 18 by 18 by 4 root, or you can say that 3 root 2 by 2. So this is your radius. So we have got the radius and we have got the center as we were required. Let's move to the next question. Now in this question we need first read the question. That the question says that find the equation of a circle which touches the positive axis of y at a distance 4 units from origin and cuts off an intercept of 6 units from positive axis of x. That means that let's first draw the figure. The figure says that my circle is such that it is touching the axis of y at 4 units and it is cutting an intercept of 6 units on x-axis. Remember that it is written that positive x-axis and positive y-axis, so we don't have to look out for other cases. Now this point is at a 4 unit distance from origin. Similarly, this intercept is 6. Again, as I have already said, the chase for center and radius. So if this distance is 4, then I can clearly say that the y coordinate of center is 4. Let's say that my center is h comma 4. Because this circle is touching the x-axis, that means the y-intercept is 0. So what I'm going to write is that 2 root f square minus c is equals to 0. if you see carefully, then minus f is equals to 4. That means f is equals to minus 4. This information we have. So that means f square is equals to c, and c becomes 16. If your c is 16, then let's look out for what is the information given for x-intercept. 2 root g square minus c is equals to 6. That means g square minus c root is equals to 3, and g square minus c is equals to 9. If we put the value of c, then g square becomes 16 plus 9, that is 25, or g becomes plus minus 5. Now there are two values of g. One is plus 5, other is minus 5. We have already located our circle in the first quadrant. So it cannot come in the second quadrant, because if g is minus 5, then minus 5, 4 will move into second quadrant. But because our intercept on x-axis and y-axis is on the positive side, okay, that means we have to neglect this minus 5 as an answer. So our center coordinate is 5, 4, and this point weighs 0, 4, because this point is on y-axis, so its x coordinate is 0. So 5, 4 is my center, and my radius will be distance between this 0, 4 and center, which is 5. So my radius is 5. My equation of circle will become x minus 5 square plus y minus 4 square is equals to 25. So this was our answer. It is not 25 square. So we got the answer as this.
So this was all about the introduction of circles. I hope that you have understood the basic definition and the general definition. Now in the next part, we are going to start with the different forms of equation, viz. Parametric and diametric.